Hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Z. I'm a clinical psychologist specializing in transgender care. Welcome to my channel. Today, I would like to share with you two patterns that I have seen again and again and again in transgender adults and non-binary adults as well, when you become aware that you are transgender or non-binary. This is a pattern that breaks people down into two primary categories, and I've seen it again and again and again. The reason why I want to share with you these two patterns is because one, it will help you understand why you have had this experience and what this experience means to you. And two, especially if you are in a relationship and your partner is confused why you're behaving the way you do, it will help your partners understand what is happening to you. So, as always, I think the more you know and the more you understand about the complexity of gender dysphoria, how it manifests, how it tends to come around, the better equipped you're going to be to understand your own personal experiences, to understand what's really happening to you. And this is exactly the premise of my channel, is to be able to give you that very specialized, very specific to you experience information. So, what patterns am I talking about? Well, for a lot of you, once you realize you're transgender. Now, I'm talking about a phenomenon not when you're still questioning or not when you are in denial. No, the minute you realize either you had gender crisis that I talk about, or you just came to a realization that you are transgender or non-binary. I'm just going to use transgenders throughout the discussion as overall umbrella term, but clearly non-binary is a subtle and also identity too. Once you realize what your gender identity is, you fall into, like I said, one or two patterns. Pattern number one, a lot of you felt something akin to floodgates of emotions opening. Those floodgates open up, and what you tend to experience and what you tend to engage in is this. You either can't get enough of any kind of gender related things. For example, you can't get enough of social transition. You can't get enough of feminizing or masculinizing. You can't get enough of um, starting any element of transition you plan to start. If you're on hormones, you are incredibly impatient. You cannot wait until changes are going to kick in. If you're planning to have surgeries, you just cannot wait to have your consultations. It's a combination of not feeling like you're not doing enough, and it's a combination of doing too much at the same time because the floodgates of all of those emotions opened up. The reason why a lot of you are running around doing so much and running around being so almost what may seem to an outsider is overly involved in yourself and overly involved in your gender exploration or gender transition at this point is because your gender identity, your sense of self, has been kept at a very tight lid throughout your development, throughout your years. Now that the floodgates have opened, that part of yourself is starved. It is hungry. It is very similar to not being able to have access to water and then suddenly have access to water and you just cannot stop drinking and you have this insatiable desire to drink. This is what happens for your partners. It may seem like you are went completely 360 and now you don't even pace yourself, but you are moving through things incredibly fast. For you, all you're feeling is that things cannot happen fast enough. Again, the floodgates opened and you just, you're like turned to a higher degree. It's not good and it's not bad. It's just the way it is. It is just natural for a lot of us as humans when we have been kept away for prolonged time from something that is actually exactly who we are. Once we have access to that, whatever that access may be for you, we're going to have that insatiable type of desire to have as much of that as possible. This is just natural. This is normal. My recommendation, pace yourself. Pace yourself, try to take a deep breath, slow yourself a little bit down, especially in instances when you feel like things are not happening soon enough, when you're feeling that the hormonal changes are not kicking in fast enough, when you're feeling frustrated that your appointment to perhaps a gender affirming care provider is going to take X amount of years. I know that a lot of you are in countries where gender affirming care still sucks. A lot of you have to wait a long time. Combined with floodgates being open, it can be excruciatingly painful when you so strongly desire to get your hands on what you really need, not only need, but what's so essential to survival, and yet you're forced to wait. It can be very challenging. If you can get access to care, take the time to psychologically adapt and adjust to what is happening to you. Maybe take time to journal, take time for self-care, take time to establish all of the other things you need. So this is group number one. A lot of you who, the minute you realize you are transgender and you're ready to change your life, you're ready to embrace who you are, chances are fall into this group number one, where floodgates opened up and you were like a kid in a candy store, grabbing everything, whatever you could get your hands on. Again, this could manifest in all areas of gender-related things, not just medical and surgical, but obviously with everything else. Running around, getting your ears pierced, getting your hair cut, making all those appointments, suddenly binding your chest and you can't get enough of binding. For each one of you, it probably manifests differently depending on what your gender identity is and how you wanted to express the gender identity. But yeah, it's most likely was the experience of floodgates opening up. Then there's group number two. Again, these are just the patterns. I'm sure there's some of you who are watching who most likely are not going to fall into group number one or group number two. Comment below, let me know what experiences you have had once you realized your gender identity, once you realized what your identity is and you are ready to do something about it. But these are the two most common patterns I see again and again in adults. Group number two, opposite. Whereas for group number one, the floodgates opened up and now you can't get enough. For group number two, those floodgates, those gates that were keeping all of those emotions, all of that part of your self-identity, those gates became even more tighter. Those gates got even more tighter shut. In other words, the resistance has really come up. The reason why resistance is coming up is because for this group of people, you have really got potentially freaked out, scared, and terrified of what you just realized about yourself. Now, group number one also can feel terror, but at the same time, if floodgates open up emotionally, there's nothing you can do about it. They're open, you can't close them shut. For this group of individuals, the reason why the gates are getting shut, apart from feeling fear, is because the resistance to the ego in proportion to ego is too much. Meaning your ego is whatever you think about who you are right now in your headspace, whatever your mental headspace thinks who you are as an individual, that is pretty much your ego. Your ego does not like change. Your ego is terrified of changes. And as a result, the more terrified your ego is of changes, and especially the more you are the type of personality that is not comfortable with changes, does not like changes of any kind, the higher your resistance is going to be. And that resistance is going to, instead of opening up those floodgates, is going to keep them shut, even that much so. For these individuals, it can be a really scary time period because for a lot of you, what's happening is that you realize the part about yourself, but you're nowhere near to accept it, confront it, or allow any room to breathe. So, analogy to the food when I made with the first example, right? When you kept so thirsty from the water, finally have access to the water, you can't stop drinking. And the caution is you have to be careful because if you drink too much, you can get sick. The same thing, if you do too many things, you can overwhelm yourself. With this category of individuals in the second group, it is the opposite. You have been kept away from the access to water. Now you're seeing the water, and yet you still cannot believe that the water is there, nor do you trust what the water represents. For that reason, you're keeping yourself away from it. Usually for these individuals, like I said, it's going to be really hard because the fear is going to be there, the terror is going to be there, you are in freak out mode. If you feel that for you, the gates have been closed even more tight shut, try to work on massaging them a little bit. You don't have to go to the extreme like the first group and open the floodgates and let all of the aspects of yourself come out. But it will help you tremendously if you let the pressure out. Why? Because the more we keep pressure on the type, remember how I always talk about dysphoria being this kind of internal pressure cooker. Well, now that you became aware of who you are, you almost took that pressure valve, and now you oh my God, I'm such an idiot when it comes to this, probably not a good analogy, because what would it be? You either tighten or you tighten, you pressure, right? So you basically create a lesser amount of room to breathe inside of your container. So it's going to be that much more difficult. Try to see if you can maybe talk to somebody, either a therapist in your area, a local therapist, not even a gender therapist, if you can find one, that you can start talking about this. Try to see if you can start writing about what you're feeling. These are all great tools to start massaging that resistance, but your resistance is going to be tight. The concern with these groups that I have is this: the tighter your resistance, the tighter you're going to close those gates. The tighter your gates are closed, the following is going to happen. You are going to abstain from confronting who you are for a prolonged period of time, leading to accumulation of dysphoria that may eventually just burst out. And then I would hate to see you in a position of regretting not doing anything about it when you first became aware. So be mindful of that. You don't have to solve all of the problems of what you just discovered about yourself. You don't have to jump into transition. You don't have to change your name. But I do highly, highly recommend starting to address it in some shape or form, even exploring within, even privately, or hopefully with somebody else. Very, very important. Those are the two most common patterns that I see. Floodgates being open, floodgates being completely shut. Was, it's hard to witness, because especially with the group numbers. If it's group number one, it's hard to witness because for me as a provider, as a therapist, I'm always thinking, okay, how can I help this person to slow down? Not necessarily in terms of let's slow down your transition, because guess what? You've been waiting X amount of years to be who you are. Now let's make you wait another year. No, none of that. But how can we emotionally just get you really more present with the process, get you really more present with what's happening to you, while also making sure you are getting all of those docs signed up in terms of your gender transition that you want to complete, because it's really, really important. So how to get these people over here not to have a burnout, really, essentially, from just not slowing down. But this group over here, my concern is, okay, I don't want you to just freak out to the point where you regress completely. This came out, you became aware. There's a reason. Trust me, there is a reason for all of you. For all of you, there's a reason why you are becoming aware of your gender identity. The reason being is that that's who you are. That's who you are. We cannot fight who we are. None of us can fight who we are. If banal example, I love color black. You all know I love color black. I wear black all of the time. I mean, there's probably some early videos where I wear color, and I think it's a huge mistake on my part. Anytime I put myself in a color, anytime my sister who's into fashion puts me into color, it's not me. My skin itches. I just want to crawl out of it. I just don't feel the same. This is just a banal example in regards to how I express myself. Imagine for you, it is something deeper. It's a core essence of who you are. And who you are is really essential to you as an individual. It's essential to your well-being. None of us can run away who we are at the core. Gender dysphoria, all of the things you're experiencing that are, yes, painful and unfair and you shouldn't experience, they're still nonetheless all kind of a knock on a door saying, hey, you have to address something about yourself that you're not addressing. Some core features, elements of who you are being really neglected. So if you're in a group two again, please try to somehow incorporate anything where you can massage that resistance. Comment below, let me know, which group did you fall into when you became aware of your gender identity? Did you fall into group number one? Did you fall into group number two? Or maybe you are in a completely different camp. All fine. Again, these are not the only exclusive groups. These are just the patterns I observed. Share below. Tell me about your experiences. And if you are, especially in the second camp, feel free to vocalize what scares you so much so that others can contribute on your commentary and that others can help you what helped them. We're all here to learn from each other. One of the things I'm learning about having YouTube channel for going on 4 years now, one of the gifts I'm receiving from having this channel is starting to learn the incredible amount of humility and just humbleness to be able to have a platform and get on platform and just share what I know and be so instrumental to so many. That's powerful. And you all have that power. Every time you all comment on each other's comments, I see how you all interact. Every time one of you comments on somebody else's comment and says, hey, I have been there. I know exactly what you're going through. Means the world to that person. We're all here to exchange information. We're all here to help each other and to elevate each other, not to destroy each other. So please share, comment below, and I'll see you all next time. Bye.